Well, if you don't mind, we'll start a little early. So could you please rise for the pledge of allegiance?
I want to know.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our country and for those who protect it. Thank you. Adjustments to the agenda?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I'd like to do a superintendent's report, and I have a request concerning the Kiev program, and we have the construction management who can make a decision tonight. We have a recommendation, I have some information.
Would you like to add a public comment before the policies?
Yeah, that'd be fine, right after public comment. Yeah.
Okay, please take a moment to look over the approval for the last minutes, February 5th, which was 2 weeks ago.
Make a motion to accept minutes as presented to us.
I'll second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, so I think there are quite a few people here, and I'm assuming there's going to be some public comment, which is our next item on our agenda. So I just ask that you raise your hand, and I will acknowledge you and allow you to speak, and so we can kind of do this one at a time, so we're not interrupting each other or anything like that. So I will open it up to public comment. Lori?
As you know, I've been to just about every school board meeting for the past 6 years, missed 3. Very active, I know exactly what's been going on policy-wise. And as you know, being board members, and the couple that I've seen here a couple times at the other meetings, I have always spoken highly of what's going on in our school. I have been very adamant that this is the best year I've seen in years. 29 years, 9 principals, this is the best I've seen. Our staff is supported, our students are supported. I can't tell you names of students because of confidentiality, but I will let you know. His open door policy has made a huge difference in a lot of kids' lives that are struggling. Is everyone perfect? No. Am I perfect? No. But I'm telling you what, this is a wonderful school. It's a supportive school. It's in a good administration. It's a good teaching staff. And it's an amazing experience for, I would say, most of the kids. If they want to buy in, they got all the support they need. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yes.
Mind if I stand?
No.
I'm here tonight to discuss the work and learning environment here at Woodland Junior Senior High School, a sort of state of the union, if you will, coming from the government teacher. As many in our community know, we sustained a large turnover this past summer, and the year began as sort of a restructuring year. Are there things that need fine-tuning? Are things absolutely perfect? To answer the first, yes, there are things that need fine-tuning. Things are absolutely not perfect. When dealing with any institution that is built by humans and run by humans, it will never be perfect. Let me tell you, however, what I do see on a day-to-day basis here at Woodland Junior Senior High School. I see students being held accountable for their actions. I see students being listened to when they have a genuine grievance and being dealt with in a manner which is consistent with their developmental and emotional maturity. I see teachers putting in extra effort because they feel that that extra effort is being noticed and acknowledged. I see an overall environment which is supportive of both the staff and the students, and a sense here that we are a family and that students are incredibly proud to be part of that family. To address some of the negative notions that I've heard being expressed, all I can say is change is difficult for children as well as adults. The learning of different personalities, the learning of different expectations and management styles is always difficult. This is true of any environment. What we must never discount is what intentions lie with that particular management style. If one's intentions are pure and consistent with trying to foster an environment which allows for the student to be better prepared for a world which lies beyond middle and high school, then we must be willing to understand that it is not always consistent with making the child or the parents happy. We must be willing to trust the professionalism and the judgment of the people that we put in charge of our students to know what is ultimately best for their academic and emotional growth. Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. Karen?
This is a person who came in as an outsider and was interested to know what we wanted. Came in as a new guy looking for suggestions. What changes could the building use? What seems to be working, not working? His first introduction to the students, he asked the students, what do you want? Per the student body's request, he brought back fun. Fun days, winter carnival, field day, after it had been stripped away completely. He's popped into classes to check in with staff and students. How's it going? How are you doing? What are you learning? This year so far has been the best 7 months of the almost 3 years I've been here. The morale of the entire building has increased beyond explanation. It's amazing to walk through the doors and breathe freely and not be consumed immediately by stress and tension, which, believe it or not, we dealt with significantly the last couple of years on a daily basis. I believe he genuinely wants what's best for our school, staff, and students. There is actual structure and consistency. Consistency in discipline, in what's expected, in communication, in following our school's policy from the exact handbook that has been approved by the school board. Students aren't mingling in the hall or offices during class time. They are where they're expected to be, in class. And if they're not, guess what? They're being called to the office and it's being dealt with. In terms of discipline, he's not looking for someone's head. He's looking to right the wrong. He allows for restorative justice. A student who had transportation issues or had to work and couldn't stay after for detention was allowed to make up the time by helping with setup and cleanup at a weekend event in the building. He allows for a clean slate. Just because a student has been written up or sent home or spoken to, it's not held against the students. The day they return is the start of a new day, new choices. Every day is a new day because he understands that sometimes students just have a bad day. Open lines of communication, there's no gray areas. He's very receptive, open, honest, genuine, sincere. Wants to be informed if students are struggling in class, not blindsided, come progress reports or sports grade checks. He's very easy to approach and talk to. We know what his expectations are. We've had monthly staff meetings and frequent check-ins. He doesn't just tell us what's going to happen, he asks our opinions. For example, the last day of Winter Carnival, he was hoping to make it a full day of activities, but instead of just making that decision, as he could very well have, he brought it to us to get our thoughts and see if that plan would have an effect on any of our classes. Wants a safe environment for staff and students. He's very supportive of us. He has faith in us because we can do our jobs. He has our backs, not pitting us against each other. He's a part of the we, our team. He's here doing what he's supposed to do, his job, being the principal of the building, exactly what he was hired for last summer. Thank you.
Yeah. I just wanted to express how kind this leader is, and he is truly a leader to those of us who work here. We can go to him about anything, be it school-related or we just need a break because things on the outside aren't going the right way. Me personally, as many of you know, I have, ill child this year. I don't know very many other leaders who would show up at Eastern Maine Medical Center after working a full day to see if the teacher on their staff is okay, knowing that their son had just had a 9-hour surgery, to check in on me, to check in on my son. But this is the type of person he is. Our students come into school in the morning. They all come in funnel down through the tunnel and head out into their classes. Within 10 minutes, you could literally hear a pin drop in the halls because the kids know the expectations. During any period that you come in this building and walk down the hall, and I say school board members do it, I see the superintendent, I see them, you look into every classroom, the students are actively engaged and learning. Period 6, which is our group study hall remediation period, really up until this year, well, I know the last 2 years, I didn't feel it was used as effectively as it could be. This year it is. This is what I expect during period 6 from our leader, very clear. If a child is struggling, number 1, you call the parents, you talk to the parents. Number 2, what are you gonna do to fix it? What are you gonna do to help this person? If you talk to the kids in the student body, they feel happy, they feel connected, and if something happens, they know the consequence. Whether it's gonna be good or bad, it's the same for everybody. It's not, if this person does this on this day, this is what's gonna be their consequence. If this person does the same thing the next day, this will be their consequence. Everything is cut and dry. I know from my perspective, being a special ed teacher, the behaviors in children that have come up through the ranks as having disabilities, and their behaviors may at times get a little out of what they should be. They know the consequences for their behaviors. They are held accountable. And as such, we're having less behavior problems from kids that have had trouble going up the ranks. And the fact that their accountability is very similar to somebody else's, unless it is because of their disability. They know what the consistency, they know where they're supposed to be when that bell rings. They know what's gonna happen in the next period. So I just wanted to express my support. I know my husband, who passed quite a while ago, had said when we had Nicholas, and we had a daughter here as a freshman, that probably we would win the award, having 5 kids, of having someone in the Woodland school system the longest of anyone. We're in 20 years right now. I've had a kid in this high school. And God willing, it'll only be one more year. One more year. So that will be 21 years. So saying, have I seen the implications? I have not always worked here. I've worked at different schools or whatnot. But my son loves this school. Loves it. His friends that come to the house like the school. So is everything perfect? No. But have we made great strides under his leadership in that direction? Absolutely. And I am very proud to work here. I absolutely love my job. I love coming through the door, and I love seeing the kids. They're happy and they're energetic and they're learning. And that is what we're here for. And I know I said to Dan one day, we're not here to raise children. We're here to raise adults. We're trying to get them here to be respectful, responsible, law-abiding citizens. That is our job. When they leave the doors of Woodland High School and go out into the real world, there are consequences for certain things that you do. There are rules that we all have to follow. We're trying to raise adults here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm one of the new staff. So, Janice Rice, I teach here. And so I had a lot of questions. And I didn't really know who to go to. So I went to Dan. And Dan knew who I should talk to. He might not always know the answer, but he knows who I should talk to. So he caught on to this staff really, really quickly. And I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate that I have been teaching for 10 years without anybody evaluating me. And we are going through the evaluation process, and I'm getting good feedback. And that's what we need as a So I appreciate, I'm talking as a new teacher coming in, I really appreciate that kind of support. So, at any time I have an issue, or a good thing is happening with a student, I feel free to go in and talk to him about it. We've had discussions about it, the successes and the things that are not so good. So I appreciate that open door policy.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm John Bates. I'm one of the older teachers. I've been here about 10 years, a little longer than that actually. And I've seen a slow decline in the atmosphere here at Woodland. It's turned around, and I am here to support our administration. Thank you.
I'm Christine Santell, and I'm the band director here. And
this is year 13 for me, and they've gone by really, really quickly. And I echo the same sentiment as my fellow teachers here. I love working here. I love my job. Has it been stressful in the past? Most definitely. But I know that this year is like a breath of fresh air coming into this building and under this administration. And I feel safer as a teacher. I feel more supported. I feel the general atmosphere and behavior and attitudes of our students towards teachers, towards their peers, and towards our administration has come leaps and bounds since they walked in the first day of September. I just think that the improvement in the however many months we're in here has far exceeded what's happened in the previous 12 years that I've been. So just here to definitely show my support for administration and Mr. Ross.
Thank you.
I would echo many of the same sentiments as my colleagues. I'm going to speak kind of from a different lens in the sense of not just a teacher in the building, but also as a coach. During soccer season, Dan was at many of our games, but also come to several of our practices. And when some of the guys were injured, he was always checking in on them. I know this past basketball season there was a young lady that experienced an injury, and the next day she come to my room and I said, "So what did Mr. Ross want?" You know, I joked with her that she'd be in trouble, knowing full well she wouldn't have been. And she said he wanted to see how my ankle was doing and check on me for my injury last night. And you know, it was a really cool moment to see she really appreciated that. So I think that there's a lot there. I feel completely supported by Mr. Ross. I know the morale from the staff in our building, and it's been rough. The morale has, and from the staff in our building, having half the staff come in brand new. I'm a younger but a more seasoned teacher at this point. That's how much of a turnover we had. So you know, the morale amongst the staff and amongst the students has definitely changed. And you know, Dan just recently, and I won't go into details, but has supported me in stepping way out of my comfort zone on something that I normally would have thrown in the trash and never applied for. And you know, and it's a professional development type thing that he supported me doing this because of that support. Took a really big step way out of my comfort zone. So I totally support me and our administration as well.
Anybody else? Yes.
I'm Leslie Monk, and I'm the Director of Special Ed for this end of our district, and I just want to speak as to the communication. There's always been, it felt, a disconnect between special ed and regular ed, and this year is very different. Before any changes are made here, there's a conversation about how that may affect special ed and our special ed students, or our staff. And our special ed students feel comfortable with Mr. Ross. And I just feel, as a whole, special ed is much more supporting. So I just want to make that. Thank you.
I just want to first share that there's not enough money in the world for me to want to take on responsibilities that Mr. Ross or any principal has to take on, especially in today's society. So kudos to anybody that can do it or is willing to try. But I've watched Mr. Ross do it without skipping a beat. If he's stressed, nobody would know it. If he's overwhelmed, definitely wouldn't know it. He doesn't show it at all. And some of the things that I've noticed this year, this is my 15th year as an educator, and I have felt more comfortable this year going to our principal with any of my questions and concerns than I've ever felt in the past with any of my students. If I have to bring something to Mr. Ross, I leave his office feeling confident that my concerns are valid, that my questions will get answered, maybe not right away, but he'll talk to who he needs to talk to, and he'll get me an answer as soon as he can. Any and all concerns in junior high, no matter how big, no matter how small, have been handled with care. When student issues have come up, Mr. Ross has taken the time to talk to all students involved and gather as much information as possible before he makes a decision on how to react to that situation or what needs to be done. I've had several students come to me and ask to go see him and talk to him before even sharing their concerns with me. They're comfortable doing that, and that's pretty rare for 7th and 8th graders to come into a building with a new administrator and feel comfortable going in his office to talk to him. That says a lot. All of the students are held to high expectations. All of the students are held to the same policies. They're expected to abide by those policies. Teachers are treated as professionals. We're given information that guides us in the best interest of student learning, but we're not micromanaged. Instead, we're given respect and flexibility to provide instruction that we believe is meaningful in our classrooms. Mr. Ross has kept us very informed of any professional development opportunities and has really encouraged us to attend those opportunities. In addition to being treated like professionals, we're treated like family. Other people have said that. I left here one day in hysterics with a family emergency to do with my son. And later that evening, I got a phone call from Mr. Ross checking in to see how I was doing and making sure that everything was okay. That's something that has never happened to me before from any boss in any job that I've held. I've heard from a lot of staff, from a lot of students, from a lot of community members who have come into the building and expressed how the atmosphere is better this year than they've seen in many years. And the list of positive changes can go on and on and on. And I'm very excited to see what else can happen here at this school when I think about the changes that have happened in less than a year. So I'm looking forward to that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No, yes, go ahead.
I would ask you all, if you want to know how some of the students feel, maybe walk by his door and look at some of the cards that have been on it. Just a hint.
I can say that in most professions, not just your profession, but all professions, you often hear about the bad things that are going on. 99 good things and one bad thing. So it's nice to hear the good things. So appreciate you all coming very much. Yes.
I'm on the agenda for later, so,
Yes.
but for when the people have to leave due to that, before y'all go, I have a couple of questions. What's your number one concern when a student walks into your classroom?
Are they okay?
Are they okay? Do you or do you not have the student's best interest at heart?
Absolutely.
Good answer, right?
Thank you
Each and
very
every
much
one of
for
you would have
answering
that.
my question.
That's right. Thank you.
So,
Okay.
a lot of why I'm here later has to do with my child, and that's my business. A lot of you are parents, and you would want what is best for your child. You discussed consistency, you discussed fairness, you discussed open, honest, genuine person, safe and supportive, easy to talk to, kind, and to be honest, every single faculty member that I have spoken to thinks that this environment this year, starting in September, is so much better. I moved back last April and people were miserable here. The students were miserable, the teachers were miserable. I heard it directly from the staff. Do I think you all are amazing? Yes, I do. 100%. I think you are amazing people. So, with that being said, if you had a student in your classroom who was failing, what are you supposed to do? What did Vicky say? Vicky stood right up and said, we are specifically told this. To what? Let who know? The parent? Okay. Just, that was my question, and I'm glad you guys are happier. 100%, because I can see it when I walk through the door. So, I appreciate y'all coming forward, because
Thank you. Okay, so I guess that will end public comment unless there's anything else. Move on to superintendent's report.
Oh,
Are you ready? Just kind of keep you up abreast. You bill that was put in the legislative session having to do with the revolving loan fund, which you supported, that went to the Maine School Board Association, that Jamie went down and voiced process for, was heard last Friday during vacation, and I submitted testimony that was very similar all the way down through all of the testimony that was presented. Got extras if anybody wants them. And it appears that it came out of committee with a positive. There'll be a public hearing on it, and hopefully it'll continue to go forward. There are two other bills that are similar. I expect in the end they'll all be tied together. Senator Melton was very good about making sure that that got in front of the Ed Committee and heard. That's absolutely good testimony. Then, just so you're aware, you may have seen this, it's on our webpage. There's been an alert that's gone out. Part of that alert has been listed as not true. And this morning on national news, there it was again. There's some considerable talk about some social media issues having to do with a Momo challenge. And it's supposedly has popped up in a number of YouTubes. It's whether it is or isn't. On our webpage, there's an announcement. Principals have sent correspondence home concerning that, but it directs children to do some things that are not good and could endanger their lives. So we wanted to be proactive. And the bottom line really is, even at home with social media as it is, it's important for parents to keep track of what's happened. You didn't get it, your email. Maine School Boards Association updates on some of the things we've already talked about.
Is this what we get in the mail every
Yeah,
month?
yeah, I just didn't know if you got it or not. Make sure you had a copy of it.
Never got this one.
And Carl won't tell you what that was all about, but I will.
Oh no, Carl's gonna tell us what it's all about. You have the
I am
floor.
very, very pleased to let you know that Carl's been nominated as a candidate for Washington County Teacher of the Year. Deserves that kind of recognition for the job that he does. I'm glad that, from what I heard, it sounds to me as though he's going to follow through. And we hope and wish him the best as he goes forward. And then another thing that came before me just recently, just so that you're aware, the Maine School Principals Association put out the new classification lists. And
Yeah.
probably not surprising. We are one student to the good as we've continued some growth, and we've moved from basketball from Class C to Class D.
No, Class D, Class A.
Class D to Class C, thank you. We remain in Class D for soccer, softball, and baseball. On those classifications, we are in Class C also in tennis. All right, now I'll get to the good stuff. Every year at this time, we receive from the Department of Education a preliminary funding report. And tonight's my opportunity to teach a finance class. That once a year I get to do. And so as you can follow, I did my typical Cliff's notes. And I'll run down through and show you how the department puts that together. The funding formula itself is based upon a program called Essential Programs and Services, which by dollar values describes a process by which schools are funded at a per student cost, basically. The two items that greatly affect funding for schools is the population of students and the town valuation, the ability to pay the bill, so to speak. So if you just start on the first page in front of you, at the top of it we have our attending counts for students. Now, those are not our total students, those are resident students. We have a number of tuition students that would not appear in those numbers. Those are resident students in October of 18. We used to get an April count. That was eliminated. So any student who is not here on October 1st but arrives after October 1st is not in this count. They would not appear until the next October if they're still here and they've not moved away again. So there's a possibility a student could come in October 15th and leave sometime in the summer and not be there the next October, and you will never see a dollar subsidy for that child, even though you had that. The April count is paid to try to adjust for that. That no longer happens. The next section is staff positions in B. And it tells you how many students are there, and for staff to student ratios, you'll notice some numbers going across teachers. For pre-KK, the staff to student ratio that the Essential Programs and Services uses is 15 students to 1. For grades 1 through 5, 17 to 1, 6 through 8, 17 to 1, and 9 through 12, 16 to 1. And they calculate based upon the population as listed above, the number of staff that you should have. And it says it should be 19.9. The total FTEs, full-time equivalents that we have, is 28.1. So our percentage of EPS per cost, salary cost, is 71%. And so then you see the salary in the matrix, 1,457,457. And then the adjusted is the amount going forward. That's broken out into elementary and secondary. You can follow the same thing across for guidance, library, and so on. You'll find that our percent of EPS, for the most part, is always less than 100%. Because we're a small school, and that's basically the way that works out. Class section C is a computation of benefits. The important factors here are the percentages that EPS makes up. So when we look at the cost for all of those benefits, i.e. health insurance, then teachers, guidance, librarians, and health, the state picks up 19% of whatever that benefit rate is. Education, library, tech, 76%, clerical, 29%, and school administrators, 14%. That's because they like us so much, they give us the lowest percentage rate. Then other support costs, you'll see substitute teachers. We receive $44 per student in both elementary and secondary, which is about a half a day for each child. So basically, if you have 186 elementary students, then you're receiving enough substitute coverage, basically, for 92 days out. I can tell you that with a staff we have more than 92 days out this year, and usually got the rest of that. Supplies and equipment, it's broken out K-8 and 9-12. At K-8 is $384 per student, 9-12, $530. Professional development broke it out the same way, $66 per student. Instructional leadership and support, $30 per student. Co-curricular, $41 and $127. And I can tell you that neither of those numbers meet what we actually expend in co-curricular. Systems administration, $47 per student. And operations and maintenance, 1122 and 1333, and that, if you look across, doesn't meet the cost of operating two buildings, heat lights, and repairs. Then there's a total adjustment, regional adjustment, and because we're in Washington County, and supposedly according to the region, it costs less to live here than other places, we're adjusted by 0.96, or basically lose 4%. If you were in Portland, you gain 110%. Because it costs more to live in Portland than it does to live in Baileyville. And so you'll see negative numbers, minus 30,000, minus 22,000, and then you get a total amount, 1,207,000 and 953. And the total number of staff is divided into that, total number of students divided in that, and it gives us a per student EPS rate. That's not your actual cost, that's a rate at which the state is going to reimburse. The state reimburses at about 49.7%. So in all reality, that's about 49.7% of your actual cost. Best way to best describe that. You go to page 2. Again, we have the October and counts, and those may include pre-K estimates for 18, and so there might have been an adjustment, or there wasn't an adjustment, depending on what the estimated numbers were. And then they go down through the basic counts, and that EPS rate is what that is multiplied by. So for elementary, it was 64.93. And for secondary, it was 69.35. So we take each of those counts in each of those areas, and we multiply it across, and you'll find the figures on the far right. At the bottom of the page in D are targeted funds. Those funds are expected to be reported in the areas that the money was targeted for assessment, technology, and disadvantaged students. At the very bottom, because you're a small school, you receive a benefit and then a total operating allocation of $1,974,996.58. Now, if you look at that other sheet I gave you, understand that our student enrollment in those 2 years was actually between 17 and 18, up 9 students total. So we did increase the student population, even though it's sort of an average. The EPS rate that you had at the bottom of the page is up $77 for the elementary and up $90 for the second. The section 1 totals at the bottom for elementary and secondary were actually an increase of $23,982 and $63.70. The subsidizable cost of the second page only showed a $3 increase, but when we get to the operation allocation, which is that bottom number, that $1,974,000, that's actually $63,754 less. And the change there, if you looked at, is in the disadvantaged students. The number of disadvantaged students between 17 and 18 dropped. Free and reduced lunch numbers dropped. Therefore, that impacts our funding, and we lost $63,000 basically. Gifted and talented and special ed are the next ones in section 3 on the next page. We're trying to get an adjustment, and I sent out an email this afternoon late about the opportunity for adjustments. We had a reporting error when we did gifted and talented, charged them the wrong thing, and we'll see if I can get $20,000 moved. It was approved, the expenditure to gifted and talented, so they'll go back in here and adjust it twice. But those are the numbers, and in reality, at this point in time, we actually lost, we gained about $15,000 in that particular column of other subsidized costs. Then the next thing is teacher retirement normalized cost. That's a percentage of the total cost of teacher retirement that is deducted from your state money. In other words, you're paying $84,000 towards that, really. There's 3 bills in front of the legislature that will eliminate that, and you regain those dollars back. It was a plan that our past governor put into place. It didn't exist before our past governor. He did that as a part of a budget plan. It was never enacted by the legislature, and it's against the U.S. the state constitution. state constitution describes that the state of Maine will pay all retirement costs for state employees. So that is in the legislature and being heard while we sit here. The next one is the debt service allocations. If you're having any building or approved leases, we don't have any, so you see no impact there. The next page talks about valuation. So our subsidizable average students is 243. That doesn't include tuition students. We're much higher than that. And our total allocation, 2,662,290, and the municipal debt allocation is 0. Then we look at the 3-year previous state average, and they use 3 years. It's $240,250,000. The year before, it was $30,850,000 less. So the state values the community on a 3-year average at an increase of $30,850,000. As I said at the beginning, when your valuation goes up, your state funding goes down. All right? So they use that to determine the mill rate for the entire state. Last year, the mill rate that was required for the town was 8.48. It's been reduced to 8.28, which means you'd raise less money, except if you're worth more, then you raise more locally. All right? So at that point in time, the required local contribution, because of that increased valuation, has increased by $213,558. So in order to get the state money, basically the town has to raise $213,000 more. Then when that happens, you go to the last page, your state money goes down. So the state is going to give you $220,000 less than they gave you last year. And so obviously, with the total allocation being $7,306 less before that, without any budget increases, and you have to raise more and you get less, that's a $434,000 reduction. Now, that's the bad news. That means you have to raise $434,000 more. I've already had that discussion at the other end of my hallway, and it's a plausible process, not impossible to do. And that's without any increases in our budget due to salary or cost of operation. There's a pretty good chance these numbers are all going to change. This is the first draft. This was based on the governor's budget. The governor added $41 million to education. I've gone through almost every district in the state, and I can't see where it went. Most of it had to have gone into increased cost in special education. So, at this point, it's the first draft. They normalized $81,000 in teacher retirement. I'm thinking that that probably will pass, and you'll see that come back to you, and not be deducted off, which would be a help. We get the adjustment for the GP, that brings us up to about $100,000. And then we'll see what else happens through the legislative process. But this is the first draft, and it will change. And my guess is, this is the worst case scenario.
And this, isn't that the case we had last year come out? I think it was like 3 or 4 times they went through it till they finally come to a conclusion on what it was gonna be?
Yes.
So that we didn't receive that actually till June.
June.
Wasn't it the end of
Yes.
May before we got it? We had to okay our first week of June to be able to get our,
Correct. And it isn't finalized until the legislature votes it. And typically, I'm not picking on the legislature, it's one of the last things the legislature deals with. I'd rather be the first because town budgets run many times before that. Last year, by the time we got to the Baileyville budget, out of the 16 budget towns that I do, I'd already completed 13 of them. And didn't have any numbers to go by, everything was by estimate. And that's not a great way to operate. Any questions on how that works? Sure, I was perfectly pleased. Okay. Last item that came forward, Dan sent this down to me and I wanted to share it with you and along with a request. There's an opportunity for some of our students, 4 to be exact, to be chosen or to volunteer to be a part of a leadership camp through Kiev. You know that we support Camp Kiev and our students actually go there for some training and some activities, come back totally different. This is during April break, basically, a week before April break, basically. Arrival at Kiev would be 4:15 April and depart from Kiev at the end of that week.
It's during April.
Yeah, it says during April vacation.
Okay, it is during April. Yes, it is. It is during April.
It's for 7th grade students,
And it's
or
for-
7th grade.
Is for 7th grade students to be identified as having leadership potential by the teachers and peers. And we'd like to invite them during April vacation week. I keep thinking it's the next week, but it is that
That's
week.
early for April.
Yeah, it is early this year. And they recommend a donation of $20 in order to help fund the program. What I'd like to ask is, need a motion and a second and a vote to do that, would the board be willing to upfront the $80 out of our budget, or someplace else, I guess, to afford so that we don't have to try to ask somebody for money that they may or may not have, and be discriminatory in any way towards any of our students. Would we be willing to fund $80 towards Camp Kiev for our students who may be identified with their allowed to?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moving second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Seventh grade teachers, if you have any recommendations for who would qualify for that, you can please email me. Good candidate.
Okay, in your packet, for those who have it, you should have had the E-policies. This would be the first reading of the E-policies. And they include chemical hazard policies, the crisis response policy, bomb threat policies, the AED, automated external defibrillator policy, which were required,
You didn't do anything with
I'll get there.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting there.
Okay, I had it next one.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
jumped. Oh, I did jump, didn't I? I'm sorry.
I'm fine, I just
The
didn't want
EBC,
us
which
to-
is pest management, we're required to have. I am the IPM coordinator, and Craig is off to training someplace at some point in time in the Giants. AEE, which is alcohol and controlled substances policy for bus drivers. Our surveillance policy, all of those except for surveillance are required, and I recommend those for first reading. We have eliminated all those that are not required or not necessary or were dated back in the late 90s.
Make a motion to accept the e-policies as presented from the policy committee.
And we hold the vote until next week. Oh. Next folder.
Are we doing this, skeleton?
Yes,
So this is actually getting done?
yes,
Do we have proof of that?
yes. We have to keep records. Okay. We interviewed for construction management four construction management firms, and I have their information here if anybody has any questions about them. The firms that we interviewed were E.W. Littlefield, the first one that we met with, Nickerson O'Day, Buildings, etc., and finally King Construction. Through the interview process, two of those came out on top. E.W. Littlefield and Nickerson O'Day. There was no question that they had a better process than the others. What information that was not available, that they had to provide in a sealed envelope, was the actual cost. For construction management. There really are no total CM costs, since the scope of the work is really defined by the project cost. And until you get through the project, it's difficult to tell what that is. But we actually asked them not to give us an actual dollar amount, but to give us percentages. Since we don't know what the general conditions defined are, we asked them to help define those. And we asked them to give a percentage of construction costs for a probable CMP on a cost range between $3 and $3.5 million. So as you go down through, these do not include any general conditions and do not obviously include change orders that might occur during it that might change the cost of construction. E.W. Littlefield proposed a 5K plus pre-con fees of 4.95% and other general conditions of between 8 and 10%. The low range of 4.95 is 148,000 plus 5,000 or 153,000. Higher range would be 178.5. Nickerson O'Day was 139 and 134. Buildings, etc., was 240.
Well, 115 on the low for
Yeah,
Nickerson O'Day,
115 and 134. I'm sorry. At the top number instead. Buildings, etc., was 240 CM and high of 280. In King Construction was 60 and 70. When we looked at those and thought about whom scored the best as far as being able to provide the best service to us, the recommendation of the committee was to go with Nickerson O'Day. Nickerson O'Day in their contract also at the end of the process will return a check for $10,000 to the district to be used as the board sees fit. Whether it be for playground equipment or some other code project that they might want.
I vote for that. Yes.
And it says that right in there.
Their presentation was very well done, and it's like, they actually get children involved with the breaking ground, and it just seemed like, even though
classrooms.
yeah, right, and they showed like where they fenced it in, they were going to have like woodland dragons, barrier tape that is really pretty cool.
Done very professional.
It was done very professional.
Very
Yeah.
professional.
And they've done it before.
Yes, and they've done it before. I have worked with, of these firms, two of them before, personally, and they both Nickerson and David. That's why they came out on top. Their presentation was on top of the cost out too. King Construction is the construction company that we gave the look at. Any questions about the process or about any of those companies?
So the recommendation is for Nickerson O'Day
Nickerson
coming
O'Day.
out.
Yes.
They are a little bit more, I can see, than King Construction, but I think the resources they provide and the comfort level and probably the experience in these types of projects is worth,
Yes, it is.
Can I make a motion to accept Nickerson and O'Day as our
project manager.
project? Thank you.
Second?
I'll second that. Any further discussion? Questions? All in favor?
Thank you. And I think Okay, then I was asked to provide in the packet the policy JJ, which is co-curricular activity eligibility for the junior senior high school. And I think the question has to do with what does it read as far as transportation. So if you go to page 6, number 11, it covers the transportation for school activities and sports. And basically in the policy that you have in the book, all participants are required to travel to and from extracurricular activities in the bus provided for that activity. It's a philosophy of Woodland High School that team competitive spirit is built on team continuity and harmony. Students may ride home with their own parent guardians after the contest, but they must have parent and guardian personally present coach with a written note stating that they'll be providing transportation. The coordinator may grant permission to participant of any activity to return home with another participant's parent provided requested in writing to the coordinator to provide in advance of the departure. We're working on policy of the next section. We'll also
No!
I believe that's why that's the policy at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah, we had some situations arise for the state cheering competition, and some of the information was a little vague.
Good.
We, as a committee, had agreed upon them going down, staying the night before. We also agreed upon paying for their hotel room.
Correct.
We also agreed, and we knew and we understood that night here, that they were leaving early to beat the storm. The storm was coming in on Friday, that was the biggest, that was one or two reasons why they went down.
Correct.
So they were leaving early. Well, the storm hit a little earlier than expected, and everything was delayed by 2 hours to begin with. So some of the kids were absent because they were leaving at 10 o'clock anyways, or 10 or 12 or whatever time, so they were counted as being absent. So, and I had some concerns with this whole, how this is written, to make sure that a situation like that doesn't arise again. I'm not sure where we should go, but we need to fix it now, so we don't have the problem down the road.
And we're working on a policy, came up tonight, that hopefully to deal with that. That's to do is bring that forward at the next board meeting, and then have the discussion, send it back to policy that needs to be rewritten. That'll readjust this as well.
So it's gonna be a separate policy besides this?
Now, this is the regulation, well, it would tie back to this policy.
Tie back into this
But
here.
it's about transportation to student activities and it includes outside transportation to school programs as well.
And that's a policy that the policy committee's working on for their next meeting.
Correct.
We'll be working on that. We'll be able to take a look. Will they be done in the next meeting?
They were done tonight, but we'll come to you at the next meeting.
Okay, next meeting. That was,
And that was a request that came from 4-2, that I had the attorneys go back and rewrite and review for me, so that it would be appropriate. About a $500.
the other question I have is, this is a co-curricular and co-JJJ. Now, is this in the extracurricular handbook?
Yes.
And it's not in the student handbook? Or is it in both?
I don't believe it's in the student handbook. I don't know. I'm saying that, but I don't remember seeing it. I looked at it. That's probably a month ago.
I just didn't know if we should put them in both of those.
We probably should.
If it's not, it should be.
Could go in the athletic and.
Any other clarifications, Chief?
I just wanted to make sure that we are on the same basis on that, and I wanted to make sure that we're gonna be working on that policy to make sure that what arose that day does not happen again.
And I think
I mean, the biggest issue with that was the weather, plain and simple.
weather was,
Us as a school board already knew that it was taking place and what was taking place. We'd already agreed upon it, it was all spoken. So, and we as a school board also knew that they were leaving early, so I don't know why the big huge upset was about it. There shouldn't have been no upset about it in actuality, because we were aware that Tuesday night that they were leaving early due to the storm. Now, did we foresee school starting late to begin with? No.
no.
Did we know the students were leaving by roughly, it all depended on which ride, you know, who they were riding with. That was the other thing.
And most of them, we fully expected would probably be leaving in that noontime period.
Some were leaving earlier, so that's why they didn't.
I guess
So-
we didn't know that, no one told.
And, you know, I was aware that after all this happened, the parents and the students had come in, they took care of everything. Everything kind of was up here real quick, and then it came back down here, and then it leveled out.
It leveled right out as it should have.
I'm glad it did, but it was probably something that was,
It never should have got there.
it never should have happened to
Never
begin
should have
with.
got there.
But
We agreed on this.
understand that
Why it got there, I have no
there's a
idea.
separate athletic policy that says if you're not in attendance, you don't participate.
That's why I wanted to get this solved here now, because the way it's written in here
Later on-
states it, they couldn't have played at
Later
all.
on, Jamie, I think I can help you with that.
And I just don't want that to happen again, because he was aware and known fact they were leaving
I've got
early.
another section for that.
Okay,
All right.
that's all I got. You guys got anything on that?
It's been beaten to death.
No.
Yeah, all right, is this to do with this subject?
I just wanted, that we noted that when Tuesday night with the board approved everything, the transportation was discussed. And it was known that students would be transported by parents, and that the schedule for the parents' departure was nothing that the coach, was in control of, nor me, who came and asked for the rooms, the school purchased the rooms to support the team, that students were going with parents, and that had been preset 2 weeks prior, and parents at that time were also taking care of the rooms. But when I came, I asked for the board to pay for the rooms to show support to our team for making it to the state competition. It had nothing to do with, the transportation was all set long before I ever took it upon myself to come and ask for the rooms from the board. So,
Okay.
I just wanted that.
So you wasn't riding the bus anyway?
Right, the bus
No,
was, that was
because they
never
said that
provided.
they'd go
to
with their
me.
personal vehicles.
Okay. Yes.
Just, when you do this, if you look in there, the transportation actually should have been addressed and maybe followed through as was already written in the policy. Because then that wouldn't have been a problem at all.
That's why we're coming back to policy.
Oh, no, that's
We didn't have
fine.
anything to do with the
all
transportation.
right,
You guys had taken
so-
care of that before we even.
I didn't.
That was
take
all
care of it.
taken care of beforehand, before it was brought
Right,
to
what
our
I'm saying
attention.
is that's part of the fiasco, so if we just get that policy ironed out on the policy committee, and then this won't happen again.
Somebody had
Okay.
something to do with it.
Very good.
I'm going to explain that in session 2.
Okay,
All right, anything else? So let's set a date for the next meeting.
I actually have one thing I need to say. Nothing bad, all good. I want to congratulate, personally, both the Dragons, the Lady Dragons, and also the cheerleading. I want to thank the band personally. As a member of the school board, I personally would like to thank you guys all for your wonderful and continued effort on supporting this town and us supporting you guys. I want to thank you guys for what you guys done this year. There was some stuff on Facebook that was going around that wasn't quite impressed. I was not impressed with by some people saying certain things. And I just want to get it out there, that's not the feeling of the entire town. So, as a school board member, and I'm not sure if I'm speaking for everybody else, but I just want to let you guys know and aware that I wanted to thank you guys for,
We
thank
have
them,
amazing kids.
okay?
I
Yes.
think Jamie is
I was
well-
very impressed.
well deserved, and I'm always amazed when I go to the games of the amount of resident who travel the 95 miles to Bangor to see the students participate every year. I've been there, and when we fill one side or the other for me, pretty much, it's pretty amazing.
Huh?
No,
Oh, cheerleaders, everybody. Everybody that was involved for this entire winter sports season, I want to thank them all.
did a great job.
You know, congratulate them. They represented us, our school well, with the little ups and downs. That's minor. So you can get that, turn that back into the kids. I know I thank them personally on my Facebook page, but I want to, you know, some coaches are here. They can relay, and the teachers see the kids. And I also want to wish the best of luck to the junior high and the elementary school cheerleading squad. They're going to be in Bangor Sunday for the state cheering competitions.
I did forget something. Thank you. My policy committee. Okay. You want to get a copy or something?
I have some.
Junior high team.
Do you have some?
Another policy?
Yeah,
You got it last week.
you got it last week.
Second reading on it?
No. This would be the first reading for this as well, but basically, I think I've got, we read it last week, I've got, there we go. Yeah. Last meeting. Yeah. When we negotiated the, John will remember.
Yep.
When we negotiated the contract for hourly employees, support staff contract, there we go. We
I figured that
had a
was
long
what it was.
discussion about
I'm looking
making
at
sure
it.
that those folks who work for us and wanted to advance themselves within the system, and this only has to do with those folks who started as an ed tech or at a particular level here in this system and spent the amount of time and paid, obviously, because we do not pay for recertification credits or anything for those staff.
So
It's
this
not
is
good.
what's written in the contract?
This is what would go into the contract.
And this is what we agreed upon
This is-
already?
No, we haven't agreed upon it already. That's why it's in front
This
of
is
you.
different than what we agreed upon during the contract.
Okay.
There was no agree.
We didn't
by the
agree. We
committee,
agreed that we would send it to
You
the
passed
policy
it to the
committee.
policy committee,
Okay,
and that's what the policy
Okay.
committee.
Correct.
And the policy committee has reviewed this and is okay with it. I'm okay with it. I've run it through. My office staff as well, they support it as well.
This is actually stiffer than what was the original proposal.
I'm kind of lost here.
Basically, what it says is
I
that,
thought we negated that all completely.
no, we didn't. No, we didn't negate it. We said we sent it back to policy committee to add. If you read the contract, you'll find the contract says will be added later, right in the contract.
Okay. Yeah, news to me.
So I just need give to you last week, I guess. I just need, it's not really a policy, it's really fun to negotiate a contract. I just need a motion in the second to allow that to go into the contract and move forward. And I do recommend it does support those folks who work their way up through our system only. In the teacher's contract, it does allow for service as a professional outside the county. I mean, if they did 5 years someplace else and then come here to work, they start on the 6th step. What this does is it actually promotes from within, and it has those folks who work hard and been successful within the system and have moved up through and
Continue their education.
continued their education and become a certified teacher, and there's a position open, and they take it, they receive some credit for all the service that they've had within this system only. I want to make sure that's perfectly clear.
But I also just say, I mean, we have a lot of really good people in this building right now as support staff. A lot of the research, sorry, I'm still recovering, but a lot of the research shows that this is a really good practice, which is why most every other school has this as a policy. There are people in this building right now that have come up through the ranks This would be a really good step.
Make a motion that this be part of the teacher's contract for 2018, 2021?
I'll
Yeah.
second that. We need a motion and a vote?
Yeah,
Yeah.
vote.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, took care of all of mine. Thanks for all mine, but I had it there, but
So next
too many
meeting
years.
is,
Next meeting is?
It would be, wow, the first Tuesday of the month, which is not that far away, that's next week. And in March, that would be the 5th. March 5, 5:30.
Everybody else?
Sharon, you wanna maybe do that a different night?
I won't be here.
Okay, all right.
I won't be here, but I'm just saying, we'll have everybody be there for four?
There's a major game there,
Yeah.
What's
My
the
daughter's
date?
last basketball game.
tournament type thing.
Yeah, it's a EAC.
March
also.
5, yeah, it's fine for me.
As long as I got the form, I'll be all
no
right.
issues on my end.
Okay, as long as I get 3 of you.
Yep.
Anything.
There's not a whole lot of, I'll be doing the end of the month stuff, and we've got a few other small things that come up that we take care of at that point, but there's nothing.
Like something?
I just wanted to ask, like, when they do a policy.
She had a raised, her
Oh,
hand
Yeah,
raised
I
earlier.
was just waiting,
See it?
because it's just, when they do a new policy, like we had talked earlier in the year, like basketball, or if something is going into a policy to be rewritten, who's responsible for that and how soon does it become active? Is it something that you guys just?
Policy committee. There's
The
an
policy
actual
committee does
committee.
that, and then it's active right after that?
No, you have to vote on it 3 times.
Twice.
I'm sorry.
Twice.
Present twice, I'm sorry, twice.
Okay,
Has to be
so I was
voted
just
on.
like the transportation thing you guys were talking about,
Yes.
different things that we've covered throughout the year, I was just wondering.
Yeah, it's not instant, but
Right, okay.
it's soon thereafter.
Okay,
You know, if everything goes
I just
without.
didn't know how many times it had to go, or if it's written and then how long it actually stays in that policy.
It stays in the policy until the policy is rewritten and
Until
re-accepted by
something
the
else
board
comes
again.
up.
Yep.
Okay.
Is Jennifer
Is there a
had a
policy
story on
meeting
that?
before that?
Hmm?
Is there a policy meeting before that school board meeting?
No, I didn't schedule one, so
Okay.
usually do it the second meeting.
So John and I both won't be there.
Okay.
But sounds
Well,
great, yeah.
And that's just mostly gonna be principal reports.
Will we be going,
finance.
when's budget start?
I'll hopefully be able to send you a draft
After that.
total, and then we'll start the process after that, will be depending on what's going
Yep.
on.
So at our next meeting, we'll have our first initial draft,
You'll have your first massive,
massive draft.
I'll look
Our
over
next
it.
meeting.
just, and I'll just
Yeah,
send
but
it
they won't-
along
we
and
will-
give
we
you a
will-
chance to look at it. And then the following meeting,
Oh, okay.
we'll start.
Break it down to 2 groups.
We won't discuss any section next time.
No,
No.
5:30 or 6 next time?
5:30.
Allison, you can call me again if you want.
Yeah, I know.
I'll tell you.
Never mind.
Okay, so, if there's nothing else, I guess we need a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion, we go into executive session, session 1.
Second? All in favor? Thank you all for coming.